Welcome back. In this lesson, I will tell you about what you can expect in France weather-wise, about the French climate, or climates, rather, about temperatures, averages by month, geographical location, season, about sunshine, and a few words about the impacts of climate change. Overall, mainland France enjoys a temperate climate, but it's very diverse and varies from one region to the next according to latitude, altitude, and proximity to the sea and the mountains. In total, there are 4 types of climate in France, with one subcategory, so 4.5. The climate of the Atlantic Ocean facing regions and around the English Channel is oceanic, comparable to the climate of southern England, i.e. mild and humid in winter, mild and rather dry in summer for the Channel coasts, and quite humid and hot for the Atlantic coast. Everything goes during the interseasons, especially near the English Channel, where there can be thunderstorms and heavy rain. Central and northern France, including Paris, enjoy an altered oceanic climate that is a subcategory of the oceanic climate with a slightly more continental touch, which explains why, in the north of this zone, winters can sometimes be quite cold with marked frosts. Summers are hot with thunderstorm activity. The off-seasons are quite mild, but can sometimes be harsh due to late cold or late heat. Less rain than in classic oceanic climates. The northeastern regions of France, like Alsace, are exposed to the rather harsh semi-continental climate, with hot and frequently stormy summers, cold winters with snow regularly, and limited annual rainfall. During spring, there are strong temperature differences between morning and afternoon, sometimes 20 degrees or even more. And in autumn, temperatures remain mild during the month of September, but they start to drop in October, so that it's not uncommon to observe snow as early as mid-November, especially near Les Ardennes. The mountain climate has some similarities with the semi-continental climate, as in winters are quite harsh, snowfalls are frequent and abundant, with low and very low temperatures. It can snow from mid-autumn to mid-late spring, depending on altitude. In summer, thunderstorms are very frequent, almost daily. Temperatures are rather mild at altitude, but the valleys can become real furnaces, and in the same way, during thermal inversions, the valleys can turn into freezers. The Mediterranean climate is quite peculiar. It guarantees hot and very dry summers and mild and sometimes fairly humid winters with what are known as Cévenol or Mediterranean episodes, which occur when the south wind blows, bringing mild and very humid air to the land, where the air is cooler and drier, which creates an air mass conflict, generating heavy rainfall, especially near Les Cévennes in the south of the Massif Central. However, the Mediterranean regions remain among the driest in the territory and also the sunniest. This graph is plotting average temperatures over the course of a typical year, along with rainfalls. You won't be surprised, it's hot during the summer and mild the rest of the year. This map is a little more useful as it goes beyond national averages. It shows average yearly temperatures département by département. Again, no surprise here. You can see how it's much hotter in the south than elsewhere and much colder during the winter in the northeast. That's the continental climate for you. As a matter of fact, the coldest spot in France is called Mout in the Jura Mountains near Switzerland, actually on the border. All-time record is minus 36.7 degrees Celsius in January 1967. Finally, this quadrant details the same information articulated region by region for each season. As you can see, there can be noticeable temperature contrasts between north and south. During spring, temperatures can be almost summer-like in the south, while it's still relatively cold in the north. During summer, differences in temperatures are less important. It's simply hot everywhere. Now, all of those statistics will need updating pretty quickly as climate change is showing its effects. More on this later. Not surprisingly, all of this translates in lots of sun in the south, but also more sun than one could expect in Brittany, while at the same time there's a little less sun than one would imagine near Bayonne in the Pays Basque. That's because the bad weather, usually coming from the Atlantic, means a lot of clouds and therefore less sun. Climate change. Well, obviously it is having an impact. This is an altered map of France to illustrate the projected effects of climate change through comparisons. For example, it's projected that in about 50 years, Le Havre in Normandy will enjoy the same type of climate as A Coruña in northern Spain today. It's as if a climate curtain of some sort will have crept up 600 or 700 kilometers to the north. This means that if we collectively haven't acted before, in half a century, a large part of France will feel like current Spain today. It's not necessarily the end of the world. We will adapt, but it is important to keep that in mind. We will discuss later in this program how you should incorporate these climate changes into your house hunting thinking.